You're feeling overwhelmed and exhausted? Well, it could be a lack of boundaries. Setting and maintaining healthy personal boundaries is an important part of taking care of yourself and maintaining your mental and emotional well-being. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what is and what is not acceptable in our relationship with others. They help us to communicate our needs, protect ourselves from being taken advantage of, and maintain our independence and autonomy. However, as you might know, setting boundaries can be really challenging, especially if we've never been taught how to do so effectively. Many people, including myself, have been or are struggling with setting boundaries because they fear being disliked or rejected, or because they feel guilty or selfish when they say no. But setting boundaries is actually a sign of self-respect and self-care, and it is essential for building healthy, satisfying relationships with others. So, how do you go about setting healthy boundaries? Here are 8 tips on how you can get started. 1. Identify your boundaries. Well, the first step is to actually understand what boundaries mean to you, to identify what they are. This can involve examining your values, your beliefs, your needs, and determining what is and what is not acceptable for you. For instance, if you value honesty, you may set up a boundary that requires others to be truthful with you. Or if you need, let's say, alone time to recharge, you may set a boundary around spending time by yourself. 2. Communicate your boundaries. So once you have identified your boundaries, it's important to communicate them with others. Otherwise, how would they know? So this means letting people know what your boundaries are, why they are important to you, and what consequences that they can face if they don't respect them. For example, if you need alone time to recharge, you might say to a friend, I value my alone time and I need at least an hour by myself each day. This is this time slot. If you come over during that time, I will ask you to leave. 3. Enforce your boundaries. It's not enough to simply communicate your boundaries. You also need to enforce them. This means standing up for yourself and taking action if someone crosses your boundaries. For example, if a friend comes over during your alone time, you might say, I'm sorry, but I need to be alone right now. Can we reschedule for later? And then follow through by ending the visit. 4. Be assertive, but not aggressive. There is a difference. So setting boundaries is about standing up for yourself and your needs, but it's important to do so in a way that is respectful and non-confrontational. This means you being clear, direct, and firm, but without being aggressive or hostile. For example, instead of saying, I can't believe you would do that to me, you're such a jerk, you might say, I feel disrespected and hurt by what you just did. I needed to apologize and respect my boundaries in the future. 5. Be consistent. Consistency is key when it comes to setting boundaries. This means enforcing your boundaries consistently without making all these exceptions or giving in to guilt or pressure. For example, if you set a boundary about not lending money to friends, you should not make exceptions when people come to you, begging or threatening you. Consistency helps others as well to understand your boundaries and you're serious about them and respect them. 6. Be willing to compromise. While it's important, yes, to set and enforce your boundaries, it's also important to be a bit flexible and open to compromise. This means being willing to negotiate and find a middle ground with others without sacrificing your needs and your values. For example, if your partner wants to go out with friends on a night that you had planned spending together, you might compromise by agreeing to go out with them another night instead. Be prepared for pushback. Not everyone will respect your boundaries, and you may face pushback or resistance when you set them. This can be really frustrating and challenging and a bit scary, but it's important to remember that you are not responsible for other people's reactions or behaviors. If someone pushes back against your boundaries, you can calmly and assertively restate what your boundaries are and the consequences for not respecting them. For example, if a friend tries to talk you into lending them money, even though you have set a boundary around not lending money to your friends, you might say, I understand that you're in a difficult situation, but I have a boundary around not lending money. I'm sorry, but I can't help you in that way. 8. Seek support. Setting boundaries can be really difficult, especially if you haven't done so before, or if you're dealing with someone who is really controlling and manipulative. In these cases, it can be helpful to seek support from friends, family, a therapist, or support group, because they can provide you with emotional support, guidance, and advice, and can help you to stay strong and confident in setting and enforcing your boundaries.